everyone. Welcome to Firewall Analyzer Free Training Part 1. Let's jump to the agenda for today's session, where we'll be looking at a typical network infrastructure and why firewalls play a critical role in network security. And second, we'll look at an important question in hand, and that is, why should a security admin use Firewall Analyzer in the first place? From here, we'll take a look at how to fetch the rules and configurations from your firewall device to Firewall Analyzer. Further, after fetching the rules, we'll have a look at the different capabilities of Firewall Analyzer, which includes the rule management, configuration monitoring, and finally, we'll wind up by looking at the compliance and audit reports of Firewall Analyzer. With that being said, let's start with the session with a quick look into a typical network infrastructure. As you might be aware, a network infrastructure consists of a router, WAN, LAN, and also multiple endpoint devices which connect to these WAN and LAN. In addition, you also have various on-premise servers, including Active Directory server, which manages the permissions to your various network resources. And last but not the least, you have the gatekeeper to all of these devices, which is your firewall device. Hackers can generally get on, hack, and make their way into any of these devices, and ManageEngine products in general have the capability to monitor and report on all of these network devices. However, today we'll be specifically looking at firewalls and the product Firewall Analyzer. So why firewall devices in specific? Because firewalls make the heart of any network security. Once a hacker gets into this house, they will have unlimited access to your entire network infrastructure. Now, let us look at a pertinent question in hand, and that is, what are the major reasons for a firewall device to be at risk? And why Firewall Analyzer? Gartner predicts that around 99% of exploited vulnerabilities will continue to be the ones known by security and IT professionals for at least one whole year. So firewall misconfigurations, and specifically the known ones, are the issue at hand. This makes it critical to identify and fix your firewall misconfigurations. Second, with hackers working around the clock to breach networks, it's essential that your firewall rules are spot on. So outdated firewall rules can be easily exploited by the hackers to get into your network. This makes firewall rules optimization and auditing a priority, and it should be carried out at regular intervals. Third, network security admins are always in a constant tug of war with the hackers, and to win this war, network admins constantly install new security devices. However, hackers are always inventing new ways to get around these systems, so merely installing new security devices is of no use. Stopping with just using a monitoring solution won't suffice. And what your enterprise would need to do is to combine this monitoring with a quick remediation. Lastly, regulatory mandates. They not only ensure regulatory compliance, but will also help you in covering some security loopholes. Using Firewall Analyzer, a policy management and configuration reporting software, you are able to manage and optimize your firewall rules using its rule management section. It helps in identifying who made what changes, when and where. Not only this, it also helps in taking a configuration backup in case of network disaster using its config monitoring and backup module. It also helps you keep track of security and traffic logs using its log analysis features. And then you have the alarm management, which helps you notify attacks and anomalies as and when they happen. Finally, you have the compliance management features, which helps you to identify firewall misconfigurations. Now that you've got a brief on the capabilities of Firewall Analyzer, let us jump straight in on how to fetch the rules and configurations from your firewall device to FWA. Step 1 is to configure your firewall device to generate syslogs at UDP port 1514, which act as the default listener port for Firewall Analyzer. Once you do this, you can perform log analysis and alarm management using Firewall Analyzer. Step 2 would be, once you receive the syslogs from your firewall device and forward that to Firewall Analyzer, credential profile can be set for the specific firewall device. Once this is complete, you get access to the inventory reports, that is specific report for each of the firewall device that is added to FWA. We'll cover step 1 and step 2 in detail in the next session, which is scheduled to happen on 4th of November, which is 1 week from today. We'll have other exciting features as well in that session. In today's session, however, we'll cover step 3, that is all about adding device in device rule. So once you set the credentials, you should now fetch the firewall rules and configurations from your firewall device and ultimately add the device to the device rule. Once you get this, you get access to rule management reports, config monitoring and backup, and finally, compliance management report. This is what we are going to discuss in today's session. You can fetch the firewall rules and configurations by 2 methods. That is, number 1, you can fetch the rules and configurations from your firewalls using the CLI or API protocol. And the second way is to add the device in the device rules by directly uploading the rules and configurations from your firewall device. So the first method will be discussed in this slide, and the next method will be discussed in the subsequent slides. Currently, API or CLI fetching is available for select firewall vendors, and we'll be sharing you a list of all the firewall vendors that support this feature towards the end of this session. And in case you want to check it out, it's also available on our website. Over here, you can see a sample screenshot of how to add a device info. On the left, you can see the CLI of a firewall device, and here we have taken the case of a Cisco firewall, and on the right is the Firewall Analyzer's product UI. As you can see in the UI, you'll need to you have to select the device, choose the fetch through option, enter all the other information such as web server URL, username, and password, and finally click validate. So let me take you to the product to show you this in working. So to start off, go to settings, go to firewall server, and then hit credentials. Over here, click add, and you will be on this page. So on this page, select the device and select CLI option or API for the fetch through option, fill in other details like these, and hit validate. Once it is validated successfully, it will be listed over here. That is, the device will be added to this list. Moving on to the second method, it is basically to add a device in the device rule by directly uploading the rules and configurations to FWA. To do this, first you will have to export the configuration file and the rule file from the firewall device, and then you need to create the rule file manually. This is nothing but a text file where each rule is listed in a single line in the respective order, and each rule needs to be separated by a comma. In case you have queries on this, we have detailed help guides explaining this process completely, and you can check that out on Google. So once you have these 2 files, or even either of this file, that is either your rule file or your configuration file, you can upload them to Firewall Analyzer and get your device added to the device rule. Taking you back to the UI, all you need to do is to click on add, and here instead of the CLI or API option, you hit file. So here, as I already mentioned, you either import your rule file or your configuration file or both of them and click on import. Once that is done, it will be listed over here. So moving on to the presentation, we have one more method of device addition, that is your manual device addition. So for this, we simply require your IP address and the device name. So you choose the vendor name and you enter the address and device name, and finally click on add. Your device gets automatically added. So currently we support this feature for select number of vendors. And again, I'll be sharing this list with you post the session, and you can have a look at it right away. So let me take you once again to the product and show you this in working. So for this, go to Discovery under Settings and click on Add Device. So for this particular way of addition, you need to select the add device manually without syslog, that is in brackets, and then choose your device type as firewall or router based on your requirement, and then select your vendor name and fill in all these informations like IP address and device name. And finally, should you want the rule management and compliance reports to be generated automatically for your particular device rule, you have to check in this box and fill in all these informations like firewall IP address, login name, password, etc. Click validate so that it can be added to your device list. So moving on, once you fetch the firewall rules and configurations from your firewall device, you get access to 3 reports. That is the rule management report, configuration management report, and finally, compliance and security audit report. I'll be explaining this to you using some example scenarios. Let's say a security admin is experiencing a couple of network security pitfalls, and let's see how he can overcome that by using Firewall Analyzer. Let's assume that we have a new security admin, Jim, who is working for a company, and there have been a lot of network security issues that is reported in that company. As a preliminary task, the company has asked Jim to do the following. That is, they want him to optimize his firewalls, policies, or rules. They want him to monitor the changes that are made to the firewall's configuration and also schedule periodic configuration backups. And finally, they want him to submit a detailed compliance and security audit report. So let's see what challenges Jim will be facing in achieving each of these use cases. Use case number 1. So the first task in hand for Jim is to optimize the firewall policies. For this, Jim has to face the following challenges. He's new to the company, which means he does not have the visibility into the existing in-rules set. Secondly, the company is pretty old, meaning there are at least 1,000 rules for him to review. He has to review each rule manually because of the lack of visibility, and this will take an enormous amount of time. And again, since it's a very old company, the rules have not been reviewed right from day one. And because of this, there are a lot of duplicate and unused rules. And also the fact that more than one security admin has written these rules, it will only complicate the process. The rules will be highly unoptimized and will be a huge headache for Jim to fix. Not only this, as I mentioned earlier, the company has more than 1,000 rules, and any new rule that Jim plans to add has a chance of affecting the existing rule set in a negative manner. Last but not the least, to add on to the complexity, the company does not only have one firewall, but they have around 5 of them. And every time Jim needs to write a new rule, he has to analyze the impact of making this particular change, what that particular change is, impact of that change on existing rules, etc. So for the first requirement, the company has asked to optimize firewall policies. Again, doing all of these on a manual basis will take an enormous amount of time and efforts, which has a higher chance of introducing human error. So let's see how Jim uses Firewall Analyzer to overcome these challenges. So let us take a look at the rule management feature of Firewall Analyzer, which will help Jim to address all of these challenges that he will be facing. So for the first feature under rule management that we are going to look at is the policy overview. The policy overview report gives you visibility to all the rules that have been written on the firewall. And again, you can filter these rules according to allowed or denied rules, inbound or outbound rules, inactive rules, logging disabled rules, and also any-to-any overly permissive rules. Besides viewing them, you can also download them and analyze the list of rules. Hence, with this feature, Jim can get clear visibility into the existing rule set that is present on all of his firewalls. Let me take you to the UI for you to understand better. So for this, to start off with this, you have to go to the rule management section over here and click overview section. So here you will have the data of this particular firewall called FortiGate, which has been added for this purpose. So once you come to the screen, you can choose the firewall device whose policies you want to view. and you can also view a list of all the rules that have been classified according to different statistic segments, right? So in case Jim wants to get more visibility, he can simply click on total rules over here. So here you will have the details such as rule name, source, destination, source interface, application service, last modified time, etc. So with this, Jim can get a clear visibility into all of the existing rule set. And in case he wants to download this in the offline format, he'll simply have to choose the particular format that he wants it to be in. For example, you can have it exported to PDF, you can have it exported to Excel, and as well as the CSV file. You can also email this report. Moving back to the presentation, so the next rule management feature that we are going to look at is the policy optimization. Now that Jim has solved the visibility issue, let us look at how the policy optimization feature will help him address his challenges. So as mentioned before, the rules have been written by multiple security admins, and they have not been reviewed for a very long period of time. Because of this, there are a lot of anomalous rules and also overly permissive rules which affect the performance of the firewall. With Firewall Analyzer, you can now rectify the anomalies that are present in your firewall policies, reduce the overly permissive rules, and also fine-tune your existing rule set. Let us quickly jump to the policy optimization report in the product UI. To start off, you need to go to Rule Management and click on Optimization, as you can see over here. So for this purpose, we go with the FortiGate firewall itself. And under this, we have 5 different sections, including policy anomalies, rule suggestion, policy fine-tuning, object usage, and finally, we have the duplicate objects. So as you can see here, the rules have already been classified into various sections. And we currently have a total of 4 anomalies. So should you want to view any of them, all you need to do is click on the pie chart or over here. Moving back to the presentation, Firewall Analyzers identifies the following rule anomalies, and they are shadow, redundancy, generalization, correlation, and finally grouping. You can see all the detailed examples of all the anomalies that are detected by Firewall Analyzer, and we'll share this presentation with you once this training is over, so you can go through this list of anomalies and understand the ones that are classified and segregated and shared in the anomalies window of Firewall Analyzer. So to expand on the anomalies, let me take you back to the product. So here we have a pie chart. So you can see the different anomalies that are present for this particular checkpoint firewall. If you want to know more, simply click on it, and there you will have the expansion, as I've already mentioned. And should you want this to be exported, you have the options as well. The second feature that we're going to look at is the rules suggestion. So to create a new rules suggestion, you simply have to choose your firewall device. I've chosen FortiGate for this, and click generate. And over here, you give the report name and select the time based on your requirement and click on generate report, for which it will be generated over here. And your report will look like something like this. Here you will have the details of the overly permissive rule names, source, destination, services, etc. Then the next section that we are going to look at is the policy fine-tuning. So you can get the data for specific rules and for specific time period. So let me go with FortiGate again and choose, let's say, last 30 days. And we can go with the rule name 2 in particular. Here we'll have the data of existing rule, and over here we'll have the details of fine-tuning once you hit on fine-tune over here. So with this report, you can understand how this particular rule is affecting the other rules, and also how you can fine tune them right based on these details and suggestions. So next one we're going to look at is the object usage. This tab will give you an overview of the network and service objects that have been used by your firewalls based on the syslogs received for a period of time. So you can see we have the detailed object-based report over here, with the top most used network objects, top least used network objects, most used service objects, and the least used service objects. Finally, we have the duplicate objects. Duplicate object report helps you find your network or service objects having the same set of IP addresses, but different object name, and duplicate objects slows down the firewall device. With this report, you can better identify and fix such anomalies. Moving on, we're going to look at the rule reorder report, which is yet another feature of rule management. In our scenario with multiple security admins writing these rules, it is highly possible that these rules are not optimally arranged. And for example, let's say that you have a new rule which was written recently and it takes the position number of 500. But this is a rule that has a lot of hits. In other words, it's a frequently used rule. So every time this rule needs to be accessed, Firewall Analyzer will have to go through all the other 499 rules and that are present ahead of it. So what this does is it takes a hit on the firewall's processing speed. Firewall Analyzer provides a ruled reorder report, which helps you solve this problem. Taking you back to the UI, under Rule Management, we will go to the reorder option over here, and we will go with the device name as FortiGate, select time range past last 30 days. And for this particular example over here, under suggested changes, let's say rule name 13. So for the rule name 13, if it is moved from a position of 14 to 2, the performance improvement can also be found over here. It will have a 59 performance improvement. Its current hit count is around 67. That means firewall has to go through all those many times before it goes to the rule name. So it is best that we move this particular rule name from this position to position number 2. So once these changes are done, they will be reflected under this complete changes section. Moving back to the PPT, we are now going to look at the rule cleanup report. And as I explained, Jim's company is extremely old, and there is a possibility that there are a lot of rules which are not used, and also it is out of place. So these very same unused rules can be used by a skilled hacker to breach into the network. With Firewall Analyzer's rule cleanup report, you get a detailed list of all the unused rules, unused objects, unassigned interfaces, and also unassigned objects. It is recommended that you first deactivate these rules for a short period of time, and once you find that there is no impact on the network, you can safely remove these rules from your existing rule set. So let me take you back to the product UI. So for this, you have to go to the cleanup. Over here, you can also come to this via rule management. And here, for your selected device, let's say checkpoint, you can here identify the rules which have not been triggered for a given time period, that is the last 30 days. So here you will have the unused rules. As far as unused objects are concerned, they will be listed over here. And interfaces that are not assigned to any of the rule will be listed over here. And finally, objects that are not associated with any rule will be listed over here for your perusal. Going back, we are going to look at the rule impact analysis now, which is very important feature of rule management. So the question here is, why do we need rule impact analysis? Before you add any rule it is very important to know the impact it will have on your entire existing rule set. Firewall rules are not typically independent from one another. And in fact, most rules have a direct impact on a set of another rules. So given this case, you must take utmost caution before adding a new rule to your firewall's existing rule set. This simplest error can trigger a massive security loophole that either allows malicious traffic to sneak in or block legitimate traffic that can disrupt your normal business with firewall analyzers rule impact analysis. You can easily determine if the proposed new rule is going to impact the existing rule set negatively. Let us look at how firewall analyzers rule impact analysis can be configured, and I'll be showing you a sample impact analysis report as well. So going back to the product, we have the impact analysis over here. We can also reach this point via rule management, and we can choose FortiGate over here. So should you want the impact analysis to be done for this particular device, all you need to do is click on impact analysis, give it a name over here, and then fill in all the other information such as source, destination, source interface, etc. And if you have blacklisted IP file, you have to check in this box and feed them over here before hitting generate report. Once that is generated, it will be listed in this particular tab. So as an example, let me show you an example over here. We'll go with this particular report, and rule analysis, impact analysis rule details. It starts out with the anomaly details. So the number of anomalies, the rules, source, destination, service or application, actions that are required. Finally, you will have description. It is followed with the rule reorder suggestion. If firewall analyzer finds any rule reorder suggestion, if there are any of them, they'll be listed over here. And you will have the overly permissive rule info over here, followed by security threat details, both service or application level threat, and with interface level threats over here with the detailed insights. If you did have blacklisted IPs, they will be listed over here. Finally, it ends with the risky port info. With interface port risk assessment, service application port risk assessment, and you have the object repetitiveness in rules, etc. So this covers rule impact analysis. And moving on to the next rule management feature, we have the rule administration. This is one feature that has revolutionized Firewall Analyzer from being a mere monitoring tool to a management level tool. Using this feature, we have the capability to add, modify, and delete network service objects or firewall rules on your firewall device itself. Previously, we only used to give you the report for this, but now we allow you to perform an admin level function of making changes by yourself. So in addition to this, you can also analyze the implications of the change and also push these changes directly to your firewall device. So let me take you back to the UI. So all you need to do is go to administration tab over here, or you can even go from rule management and administration over here. And here, when you see, you have 6 different options, 6 different tabs. For this particular feature, we are going to go with firewall, and we're going to select FortiGate firewall, and we're going to go with all in the status part. So here, the tabs that are network objects, service objects, and security rules are basically divided into 2 objects, that is the local objects and firewall objects. So changes that are made in this particular tab, that is your firewall objects, once you edit, they will be sent to your local objects. So from this, they will be sent to the review and push tab over here. And here you will be able to review this and hit push, to which it will be sent to the commit tab. So commit tab is basically an extra level of security where you can review and finally push it forward to the rule approval tab over here. So rule approval tab, however, is the super admin kind of level of feature that allows the super admins to decide whether or not a particular change that has been requested to be made on your firewalls get approved. Here you can approve or deny any of the requests that any of the firewall admins have made on their behalf. And here, this dashboard gives you all the necessary insights. You can also view the pending requests, requests that are approved, and finally, requests that have been rejected. Next, we're going to look at the feature called rule comparison. With this feature, Jim can easily pinpoint the changes that are made to the rule configuration, and he can arrive at the conclusion by comparing the configuration files between two running versions of configuration files, or any two offline versions, or even between configuration that is currently running and a configuration that is present in the offline version. The rule comparison feature, however, falls under rule tracking. This feature in overall allows users to monitor and compare firewall rules, rule changes across different configuration versions. It helps identify rules that have been added, deleted, or modified, ensuring visibility and auditability of all firewall policies. In the product, under the rule management section, can go to the tracking section over here. And here for this particular device, FortiGate, and we select the time range as last 30 days. Here in the summary tab, we'll have the last version changes made, user specific changes made, rule change trend, and total rule change trend. So here we have the total rule changes that have been made. So it is 21 in this case, and the modified rules are 21 as well. So the color codes are basically as such. Blue indicates the total rule change. Addition of new rules is indicated by green color. Orange indicates modified rules. And finally, deletions are indicated by red. Subsequently, we have other tabs as well, like rule change history. This history is the details of it. It details the number of rules that have been changed, and this is basically to keep track of your rule changes. That is your rule change alert. So rule change alert tab lets you keep track of all the changes that have been made for this particular firewall. You can view all of them over here. And coming back to what we discussed in the presentation is the most important compare policies. So over here, as I've already mentioned, we can compare it between configuration files. Comparison can be done between configuration file and the latest running config, and between running config versions. So choose your files and hit compare to view the details. So again, while comparing, please note that there will be these specific colors: orange denoting modifications, red denoting deletions, and finally green that denotes new addition. Moving on, the next feature that we are going to look at is the rule expiry notification feature. And as a rule management best practice, most security administrators set expiration dates for their firewall rules. So this means that after expiring, firewall rules need to be rectified and reactivated again. However, as most organizations have hundreds of rules and multiple security admins working on these rules, it becomes nearly impossible to review the expired rules and rectify them manually. Firewall Analyzer expiry notification feature can help the security admins to track the status of your firewall rules and get notified on which rules have expired. So this helps you to get visibility on all the firewall rules for which any kind of schedule has been set. It enumerates all the active firewall rules for which a schedule has been set, and security admins can also track the specific active rules and get notified at an instant. An active rule shows you that there are upcoming rules which catalogs all the rules that are scheduled to turn active in the near future. And then you have the expire rules, which records all the rules that have expired. And finally, recurring rules, which lists all the reactivated and certified rules on regular basis. So all of these given reports can be scheduled to be sent to your email or can be downloaded in a report format that is as per your requirement. Let me show you this in working. So under the rule management section, we're going to click on expiry notification. And over here, we have the list of all scheduled rules. There are totally 2, rule name 19 and 26 for this. And then you have the active rules tab over here, rules that are active, rules that are upcoming, rules that are yet to be active, and then the expired rules. And finally, recurring rules or reoccurring rules, where you can rectify and certify the same based on your requirement. And again, as mentioned, you can also export it based on your requirement, or you can also email this report to yourself. So in addition to rule expiry notification, there is one more feature that we have launched from version 12.7. In case you want to experience this risk analysis feature, we would recommend you to upgrade your setups to 12.7 and above. So this risk feature helps you to simplify and prioritize and manage all your existing rule set. So to keep, so it helps you list all the rules based on the severity and in identifying any weak firewall policy misconfigurations, and finally limiting security incidents. The incidents can be categorized in 4 classifications based on severity, namely critical, high, medium, and finally low. In the summary tab, you will have the risk trend report, risk level analysis report, and here you will have the total risky rules along with their classifications over here. The next feature would be alert profile. Alert profile for rule management feature is another feature on the Firewall Analyzer to help you improve your organization's security posture. Rule management alert feature triggers notification alerts when a threshold violation occurs. You can create separate alerts for each category, like overview, optimization, rule expiry, etc., in which thresholds are violated, and you can stay notified through selected notification profiles. Simply go to add, select your device name, make your selections over here based on your threshold, and finally choose your template type and template name and click on save. Once you do that, it will be listed over here. So the second use case starts with monitoring the changes made to your firewall configuration. So let's say one of the employees in Jim's team has left the company, and it is expected that he did some damage to the existing configuration before he left. So previously, the company had no idea what these changes were. And now that Jim is here with the help of Firewall Analyzer, they want him to analyze and track and record all the changes that are made to your firewall configurations, and also to download these changes in a report format. But before that, the company also wants them to take a backup of the configuration files. So in case the company runs into a network security issue or a network disaster, this will come in handy. They want to ensure the continuity in business, so that they want to have a backup of all the configurations. let us look at how Firewall Analyzer's change management report and configuration backup section will help to resolve this issue. As mentioned before, changes made to the firewall configurations have gone unnoticed previously, but with Firewall Analyzer, if say the employee who quit the company goes by the name James, makes a change to your firewall device, this is automatically recorded by Firewall Analyzer. So any change that has been made to the firewalls that have been added to the Firewall Analyzer does not go unnoticed. FWA does not only track who made these changes, but also when it was made, what that change was, and it also lets us look at how this change management report looks like. So let me take you back to the UI. Under compliance, you have to go to change management tab. And here under the change management tab itself, for let's say FortiGate firewall, we select last 30 days. And here you can see that it is color coded based on the different dates. And here you can see the configuration change that has been made by the person, that is who made the change, and the IP addresses along with the version number and config change count and other details of this particular configuration change. In case you want to view the configuration change in detail, simply click on the date over here and you will get further details. In addition, you can also compare by modifying the LHS and RHS of the configuration type by selecting the specific configuration, so you can understand multiple differences between any specific configuration change that has happened. Click on actions should you want to export to PDF or send the report via email. Let's go back to the PPT. Now we have looked at change management, and the next thing that we are going to look at is the configuration backup. So with this feature, Jim can easily schedule automated config backups, and hence any erroneous modifications made to his current configuration version, either due to an attack or due to a network disaster, can be reverted with the help of this backup option. In the product, config backup is available under compliance. So you can see over here. So based on your requirement, configuration backups can be taken, and over here you can see several config backup schedule that is running. For this particular example, we have one of it running over here, and the status is active. To create your own, all you need to do is add backup schedule, give it a name, select the devices, schedule it, and give your email, an email subject, and finally click save, to which it will be saved over here in this list. And in case you want to have, if you want to run an audit of all the backups that you have performed, you can get all of those relevant details under the backup audit tab. And again, you can also download the same should you want to. And finally, you have the comparison tab. So you can compare it by rule or by config. For all you need to do is enter the device name, schedule type, select the time, compare the backed up config at and along with, and then hit compare, to which you will able to see the comparison. Moving on to the third use case, Jim's company needs to be compliant with multiple security standards, but they are failing short with a lot of them. So this has affected them so much that they've started losing customers since their compliance is not up to date. So for this very purpose, Jim has been assigned the task to submit a detailed compliance report and a security audit report So let us take a look at how Jim utilizes the compliance and security audit section of Firewall Analyzer to resolve this issue. So the standards in compliance management feature of Firewall Analyzer provides out-of-the-box compliant standards for multiple compliances. So in addition to what is mentioned on the screen, we have added 2 or more compliance requirements, which is again available on our online demo. If you want to know more, we are here to offer personalized demo should you want to proceed further. Moving back to the UI, to access this feature, simply go to Compliance and choose the Standards option over here. And here there are a list of compliance standards that are essential for this particular firewall that has been added. So let's take this particular example of PCI DSS. Let's assume that the company that Jim works in is a financial company which is card based. So it is mandatory that they stay compliant with the compliances like PCI DSS. So this particular firewall has only 58% of compliancy, as you can see over here, which is not compliant enough. So if you want to understand more, simply scroll down and you will be able to see further details. And these details will be majorly categorized in 3 categories, that is pass, fail, and manual verifications is necessary. To understand which of the compliances are failed or which are yet to be addressed, all you need to do is click on the fail option over here. Here you will have the detailed description and other essential information. So moving back to the presentation, the next feature we are going to look at is the security audit report. Firewall Analyzer's security audit report helps you identify the configuration loopholes in your firewalls. So it lists the events based on criticality, such as critical, high, medium, low, and informational. In addition to that, it also provides a detailed finding about what this impact will be on the network, and also suggests solutions that can help prevent security events. Taking you back to the UI, you have to go to the security audit for this particular FortiGate firewall device. And here you will have the detailed security audit summit. In the summary, we have the critical, we have the issue count rated as critical, high, medium, low, informational, and the rated counts are also present over here. And about your report, you will have the detailed analysis, results, and finally the suggestions for each of these issues, including your critical, high, low, medium, etc. All of your issues will be listed out with its analysis, with its results, and finally suggestions from ManageEngine side. Should you want this to be exported, you can also do the same via export to PDF or export to CSV, and you also can send it to yourself. You can email this report directly. So to summarize Firewall Analyzer, this is a policy and configuration management tool. It helps us to identify policy anomalies, unused rules, and objects, and it lets you perform in-depth impact analysis and also helps you to push the policy changes directly to your firewall. It plays a critical role in optimizing a firewall performance. In addition to that, you also get out-of-the-box compliance reports for PCI, DSS, NIST, ISO, GDPR, etc. In addition to all these, it helps you monitor your configuration changes and also to schedule configuration backups. Finally, Firewall Analyzer supports all major firewall devices. So listed here is the basic installation requirement. Firewall Analyzer can be installed on a Windows or a Linux system. All the syslogs received by the Firewall Analyzer by default is stored in the Postgres database. So if you need, you can also configure the syslogs to be stored in your MS SQL database as well. The disk space and RAM size mentioned here are the minimum requirement, and same might vary depending on the number of devices being analyzed and the number of devices that are sending log information to Firewall Analyzer. So on the screen, you can see the prerequisite ports that need to be free and the respective protocols that would be used. So here we have the SSH SCP protocol on port 22, port 69 TFTP, and 23 is where we have the Telnet protocol running, and finally we have the 1514, which acts as the listener port and where you are required to forward all your syslogs for Firewall Analyzer to generate syslog-based reports. So we have the technology partnership with Checkpoint, Palo Alto, and WatchGuard, and we are only actively working towards expanding this section. And also we support more than 50 firewall vendors and over 200 devices that are currently supported. And again, this is also another list that we are actively expanding. So in case you are running a firewall device that is maybe not on this list, you can check out that list on our online web pages. And in case you're having difficulty in finding them, I'll be sharing that to you via email after this session is completed. Firewall Analyzer provides the rule management report for the given list of firewalls. So again, this is another feature list that is available on our website. So in case you are curious, you can have a look at this. And if you want me to send them to you or email them, simply let me know by commenting in the chat. So I'll customize an email with all of these list of vendors that we support and send it to you immediately. In this slide, you have the basic information on how you can contact us. You can reach out to us via email through Firewall Analyzer support ManageEngine.com, or in case you want to talk to us, you can directly call us on the number that is given in the screen. And do not worry, I'll be sharing you this presentation post the session so that you can have all of these in your fingertip. Finally, we have the review section. So we would be happy if you could leave us a review, and you will be more than we will be more than appreciative to give you a $25 gift card should your review be published. Please reach out should you have any doubts regarding the same. In addition to that, we have a couple of ebooks, and one of our best ebooks that has benefited a lot of admins across the globe is the Firewall Best Practices ebook. So this is available on our website, free of charge, of course, and you can download that from firewallbooks.html. So again, I'll be sharing you this as well via email, and I'll be sending you post session. This will contain the link to the download of all these ebooks. So in case you want to download it right away, we'll be sending you the email, as well as you can find it in our websites where our ebook is currently uploaded. We have a disclaimer on the security. So with respect to customer security and customer data security, we from ManageEngine can assure you that we take customer security and customer data as our top priority, and we make sure that it stays protected at all costs. We have another session coming on the November 4th. So if you want to know more, this is the agenda. So you learn about alarm management, network security and traffic reports, VPN monitoring, user monitoring, and finally, forensic log analysis. Please do not forget to join our next session. I'll be looking forward to having you there. If you need to know more about VPN management, you can grab our free collaterals. This is the best opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today, and we hope this training was useful and you learned something. So thank you again, once again, and have a wonderful evening.